Yeah, so why don't we start with OpenTelemetry? We already talked about it during the last couple of shows, but I think we can now share a bit more, maybe some rationale behind why we chose OpenTelemetry as one of our first focuses this year. Patrice, can you share something more about that?
Yeah, so let's take a few steps back and talk about what it means to be able to, observe and monitor software. Because like level 0 is, you have to visit the website to figure if it's up, which is not ideal. So we don't want to be there. Level 1 is like a status page telling you that the last error was 25 minutes ago, and it's currently green, which is an improvement, but I would say still not the best. But this is what you get by installing software like a crash logger. It essentially tells you it's been 25 hours since the last problem. So we want to get even more information, which is how we get to level 2, and we step into the APM or application performance metrics territory. So this gives us a bit of insight how the app is doing even when it's up. So even if there's nothing to signal, nothing is out of ordinary, but you can figure out what the ordinary means. So this is where APMs step in. They show you that a working request, for example, takes on average like 200 milliseconds, for example. Whether it's good or bad, it's for you to figure out, but you have some metrics. So that's amazing. Unfortunately, if you have to visit like 20 different dashboards to figure out if your entire stack is up, to correlate between an APM monitoring your storefront and an APM monitoring your dashboard and an APM monitoring the actual commerce and the payment gateway and every single service that is necessary for the entire tech stack to essentially work, then it takes a lot of work, and often everything seems to be up and running, and you can clearly tell there are problems. So there are problems where services meet each other, and there's no place that tells you that one problem that you see in service A was caused by this behavior in service B, etc. So this is where we get to level 3 of observability, which is cross-stack observability, which lets you trace application behavior across application boundaries. So you can say, okay, this is my storefront that's making a request to my backend, which is a backend for frontend that I host in, say, Next.js, which is then making a request to my actual backend, which is then making a request to an application that's subscribed to override certain behaviors through delegation, etc., etc. And cross-stack observability allows you to clearly see what happened to a particular request or to a typical request, because we don't really want to trace every single request. We want to have a representative sample of those. And so OpenTelemetry is a protocol that allows us to do exactly that. So you can have individual applications reporting their own streams of events, but those applications can pass context that this is the same request among their boundaries, which then allows the actual observability layer to reconstruct a full trace from those partial signals.
So as you can hear from this story, it's pretty apparent why it became so important for us, because Saleor is this complicated platform that integrates many different services with it. So the ability to track one request going from one service to another and to another is really key to learn what's really going on. And I think it's really one of the things that fascinate me the most about the OpenTelemetry is the fact that we kind of, by following this one standard, we give you, the users, the flexibility to connect to collect all this information the way you like it, right?
Yeah, and you can use any tool you want. Most popular receivers of OpenTelemetry, which is only a carrier of the information, are services like Datadog or New Relic, the biggest ones for enterprise customers. But you can also use Grafana. You can also self-host Grafana. You can use Jaeger, which I think was built by Uber. Like one of the non-obvious companies is also a player in the open source self-hosted telemetry. So you can self-host the entire stack, including the observability layer, and which is amazing because the protocol itself is not encumbered by any patents. It's royalty free to use, and it's becoming the de facto standard in the industry. But I wanted to say a little bit more about telemetry, because there are challenges in telemetry where you can transfer a lot of data, which can become a headache when it comes to stuff like privacy. So one of the most important guiding lights when we design everything is being privacy conscious. So we're using OpenTelemetry. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, but our team has also done a lot of work to make sure that we never share any PII, so any personally identifiable information, through this telemetry channel. So it's truly an APM in the sense that it's monitoring the performance layer, but it's not leaking any information about users, which means this is completely privacy neutral. So this is GDPR compliant, CCPA compliant, PCI compliant, etc. So I want to underline this because it may not be obvious, but this is an issue where you can overshare.
Yeah.
And people tend to do that, to hoard data in case it becomes useful later on. But we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that the observability doesn't force you to have any, data processors pushed upon you by us as a vendor.
Yeah, that's really important. Like, you want to collect data, but not too much data. And speaking of collecting data and kind of doing it yourself, we shipped OpenTelemetry support with documentation, so you can already check up how to set up your own collector for Saleor Cloud users. We would be setting them up kind of on demand. We have this isn't everything that's been delivered in 321, as I said. So what's more? What's besides OpenTelemetry, which we covered quite a lot? What would you say is the second thing that got you the most excited in 321?
I mean, you're cheating a bit because you're showing the agenda, so we know what the next point is going to be. So observability is figuring out whether the entire stack is up, but the circuit breakers are what help to keep it up. So it's an obstacle avoidance strategy where an application that is down is not bringing the entire stack down with itself. A circuit breaker essentially is a pattern where faulty application is isolated from the rest of the stack, and this is what we brought in 321. So if Saleor detects that a synchronous webhook is failing constantly, and by constantly I mean it's crossing some thresholds that are documented, then it will decide to isolate your application and assume it's fully down, skip it in its entirety, not making any calls to it, and to also give it a bit of breathing room to maybe recover and resume later on. So it's a self-healing process, by which I mean that after a certain timeout, Saleor will retry. It will start to probe the application, and if it remains operational, if it returns correct responses, and it's doing so in a timely manner, then the circuit breaker will close again, and the app will be used again. So it's a failure scenario, but it makes systems fail in a predictable manner. So that's preferable to having, for example, every storefront call stall on a Saleor trying to reach an application that's timing out, etc., etc. We don't want to do that. We want to, if we have to fail, we have to fail in a predictable manner. Depending on the webhook that the app is implementing, the fallback behavior is going to be different, but it's also documented. And again, failing quickly is preferable to failing eventually. So if we assume the app is down, we will just stop trying for a bit.
Yeah, I think you can kind of find the common theme between these two. So if you've been kind of lurking around our Discord for a while, you might have heard that we kind of laid it from the perspective. It might have looked like we kind of lay low with some features and changes around Saleor, but in fact we were working really hard in the past months and like probably last full year on making Saleor like this mature, stable platform that behaves predictably and, like we just showed you, gives you these amazing observability features, so that you can really trust it while going to production.
Yeah, and I think the next thing on the list after circuit breakers is also playing into like, how do I know stuff is not going to fail theme. This time it's addressing a challenging problem, because when a synchronous webhook is called, Saleor is making an HTTP request behind the covers. Like you don't see it in your browser to an application, and the application is expected to respond in a particular format. And if that format is incorrect, there is no obvious way for us to surface this information right now, because we cannot send it to the browser because there is no browser connection happening at the time. We cannot send it to the app, because if the app is down, then what good do we, what can we do to figure out there's a problem? But there's also a common issue where the app is responding slightly incorrectly, like misspelling one of the dictionary keys, for example. So it is responding, it's doing so in a timely fashion, but it's maybe misspelling an optional key, which means it's going to be skipped and it's not obvious. And we want to prevent that. So we're working on adding stronger validation for the response format that the apps send back to the Saleor. But this is only a first step. The next step will allow us to automatically publish JSON schemas for those endpoints as artifacts for each build, which in turn means you can plug those JSON schemas into your toolset that will prevent you from returning an incorrect shape or format from the response. So it's a multi-step process. We've only taken the first step right now. But the end game here is to allow you to prevent your team from accidentally returning an incorrect response from an application.
Yeah, I can confirm this will be very handy because, like, from the perspective of building apps in the app SDK, there are some helpers around returning the data to synchronous webhooks in the expected format. But then we kind of had to maintain it by hand, make sure that it stays up to date with what's changed in the API. So to have this one contract would be really, really great.
Yeah, and again, this will prevent a common mistake where you misspell an optional key.
Yeah.
Which means Saleor won't complain. It will accept your answer, just completely ignoring the part of the data you've sent along, and that's causing silent issues that you may not even figure out you're having immediately. So
yeah, awesome. So I think the last big addition in 321 is the configurable address, right? So the checkout address
Yeah,
strategy.
that's something that was requested quite frequently. Because what Saleor was doing previously was when you placed an order as a logged in user, it would automatically add the shipping address to your address book, which was nice when the user was actually a person, but for automated order placing or for cases where you were using a pickup point, for example, for click and collect, having those addresses added to the address book was certainly not a great experience. So you can finally decide on a checkout level whether the address is going to be saved or not. So every address you pass has an optional flag. Please do not save me to the address book, or please save me to the address book, ignoring the default behavior, whatever the default behavior you configure. So this is now configurable. I think a lot of people will be happy because of that. But that is not the last thing we ship with 3.21.
Yeah, it is. It is true. I mean, just look unless you mean something in particular, just look at this list. Like there is quite a lot here, and we said that we shipped, but you shipped too. By you, I mean the open source contributors. So in this release, we had 5 of them, which we thank very much. Yeah, Patrice, is there anything from 321, like the Saleor Core API release, that you would like to highlight, or are we moving on?
No, I think it's worth moving on. But I think it's not just the core release, right? We've
Yeah,
also
of
released a
course.
dashboard, and we've
Yeah,
also released some nice applications there. But
exactly. So let's start with dashboard. So you might have seen that in Saleor dashboard there is this new tab called modeling. So we spoke with observability. We spoke about this kind of new perspective, or this kind of shift in thinking about Saleor, about making Saleor more mature, and so on. So I think with modeling, it's also a similar phenomenon. So the idea of modeling kind of changed the way we look at Saleor. And so this change in the dashboard sidebar and this view is quite subtle, because if you are familiar with Saleor dashboard, you'll probably realize this is the page type and page view renamed, but there will be this is only like a signal of what's more to come, because we are thinking about using this concept of modeling extra unique commerce entities around Saleor. We take it really seriously. So we have the change in the Saleor dashboard. With it, more will follow, but we also have new documentation on what we call modeling, which shows how do we see the usage of what was previously like the pages, and also creatively the menus API. So the models and structures. The kind of key idea here is that with modeling we go beyond the typical commerce domain model, because what we experience from working with our customers is that maybe us, the commerce platform, we want to stop at products, variants, and things like that, but the customers don't. They have a lot of other entities that kind of are included in this commerce process, and most of them are unique to their business. So like a pharmaceutical company will have some sort of like I don't know, recipe or ingredients or things like that, and there would be like a completely different domain surface for a electronics part store. And these entities are engaged in different commerce processes, different like things like fulfillment or any other workflows to be fair. And we try to convey that with the way the kind of the modeling section in our documentation shapes up, but also in our dashboard. So we want to show how we can go beyond just products, variants, and those traditional entities.
Yeah, and if I may, there's some stuff that's going to happen in the future. That's the extension of what is happening right now. So right now we've renamed the things in the dashboard, but you can expect the API to follow suit. The things that are called pages and page types, they are like named those things for historical reasons, because in the old times where we named this API, those were mainly used to render separate pages, like a vendor or an ingredient that Adrian mentioned. If you look at Lash's storefront, each product has a list of ingredients, and those are clickable, and you can you can discern by their color in the list which ones are the major ones, and which ones are only there for for the cosmetic effect to work. So they're chemically necessary but not that interesting. And those they also use the pages, page types, and attribute relationships to model those. So we also want to enhance the attribute types to allow for more elastic but also stricter modeling. So you can also say that you have an attribute that's a relationship, but it only allows a particular page type going by current terms, or model type going by the new terms. So to make sure that your data is not only correctly represented but also consistent, we want to allow metadata to contain rich JSON values, which is another thing we're planning to implement. So it's not strictly for the dashboard experience, but we recognize that applications put the wildest values in metadata, and we don't want people to have to serialize and deserialize stuff into strings just to store them in the key value store. We know that metadata itself is a crucial part of the extending experience for Saleor. So we're also investing there. So I don't want to put any dates on the roadmap right now, but you can expect us to work on this even further. So it's not just that we put new names in the dashboard and we're calling this a revolution.
Exactly. So if I were to kind of summarize it, is that not only we want Saleor to be able to comfortably integrate with your processes, but also help you model your data better. Okay, I think. Oh yeah. One more thing regarding the dashboard is that we also changed the name of the fulfillment item, which is now which was previously orders. So now in it we have orders and drafts. So like a tiny change there.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can
no more orders
move to something
within orders.
Exactly. So I think we can now move to something bigger, which is the Stripe app release. So I'll invite Krzysztof to the stage. Krzysztof is our staff engineer. Hello, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. All good. All
Awesome.
good.
Awesome. Oh yeah, hello everyone. My name is Krzysiek, and I want to present you a new or back from the ashes, so to speak, application called Stripe. So as you can see here, we recently released the Stripe app with the that works with the transaction API. So yeah, this is currently live. You can install it via our marketplace. So we can start testing. This is currently working in terms of what's happening under the hood. It is using payment intents to connect to the Stripe. So if you have any ideas about where we can go with the Stripe, with the different integrations like Stripe Connect or Stripe Checkout, please let us know. We'll for sure make it into consideration. As you can see here, this is the quick demo of paying with the new Stripe app. As you can see here, I just paid with the Stripe app. I complete the checkout. I can go to the order page of my dashboard. I can see the capturing funds. This is correct and successful. I can go and click the payment intent itself to see the dashboard of the Stripe and make some actions here as well. So yeah, the application itself supports all, I would say, common actions regarding payments. So capturing authorized funds, so it supports both chart and authorization flow in Saleor. If you are using authorization flow, you can capture the payment. It's from the dashboard of Saleor itself, or you can do this via a Stripe. You can cancel payments as well from Stripe and Saleor, and you can do refunds both Saleor and Stripe. And yeah, that's how it currently works. You can see more in the documentation here. We have a few diagrams.
Very extensive documentation, I would say.
We have a few diagrams regarding how the architecture under the hood works, what is happening when you using different flows of payments. So please familiarize yourself with this, and yeah, we are happy to help if you have any questions.
I think it's so. Thanks, Krzysiek. I have two things here. One is that if you are interested in hearing more about how to build payment apps in general, because this is quite an extensive API, let us know. Feel free to speak, to write in the chat, and we can organize like a separate event for that. And I think the second thing is that it's worth kind of addressing why it took us so long. Because I mean we kind of went back and forth with it, so we have the Stripe plugin for years and it works just fine, but I think it's kind of getting it's on the kind of old Stripe API version. We obviously are bullish on apps, so we would ideally want to have an app. We had one at some point, but now we kind of released like a full-fledged version because we kind of we can see that there's really, for many companies, there's really no commerce without Stripe. So it's an essential piece of the commerce stack, I would say. Yes. So I can answer the supported payment methods by showing the docs.
Yeah, they are both supported. Apple Pay and Google Pay are supported. About the Express Checkout, I think you mean the Stripe hosted checkout. If it is that's something that you mean, we can consider supporting it. Currently not. We are using payment intents, but I think adding support for the Express Checkout shouldn't be quite a problem.
Yeah.
And also one more thing about migration from plugin. There is a docs section, as you can see here, about how to migrate from the old plugin to the new app. So if you are using the old plugin, please take a look into this docs and migrate.
That's awesome. And just as a reminder, we have a Stripe app channel here on Discord to kind of follow the Stripe app development. So you can have a look there and also submit your feature requests, your ideas for where should we take it next. So thank you very much, Krzysiek. Always great to have you. And now we wanted to show you what's been going on in Saleor documentation, for which I will invite Ania. Hi, Ania. Ania is our customer enablement specialist, and she recently did such an amazing job with our documentation. Anya, are you with us? Yes.
I am. Recently we had an initiative to fill all those gaps in our documentation, mainly adding what was missing and explained what's not covered very well. Honestly, most of these things should have been there already, and it's a bit weird to announce them now, but they finally live. I hope it will make your life easier when working with Saleor. I won't go to every single update now. We'll share a full list on Discord later. But right now, I just want to say something about my two favorites, which I really wished existed when I first joined Saleor. So webhooks troubleshooting. I think it's super helpful. It shows how to deal with failed deliveries, how to get them, how to retry, explain what happens with events if webhook or app gets disabled. I remember someone asking on Discord last month and how to retrieve failed events, so I jumped and document it right away. And the second favorite is order fulfillment with lifecycle explained, statuses transition, how to handle return, how to deal with fulfillment when you have stock outside of Sailor, what are the settings, what are edge cases, and stuff like that. And that's all what I want to share in this meeting. And one last thing, if you see anything missing, still not clear, let us know. I will be more than happy to improve our documentation. Yeah, that's all for me.
Thanks, Anya. So you're saying that it's weird that it wasn't there, but I'll be diplomatic and say that all software has its documentation gaps. So it's just like never-ending run towards finishing it. But yeah, it's really great that we finally address some of these gaps. So we just showed you 2 documents, but we'll have a really extensive list of new things in our docs. And one of these things is also recipes. So this is not necessarily a gap, but we also added recipes for a specific kind of use case that is common in Sailor. So things like multi-region digital products, custom shipping, so the usage of synchronous webhooks for shipping, click and collect. So basically, this is like a easily digestible kind of walkthrough of what you need to be aware of, what you need to do to accomplish these kind of flows. And I will say that kind of foreshadowing, because I'll also mention it in some of the next section, is that we'll also have a recipe for Sailor as marketplace, which I see in the audience today. There are some people who might be familiar with this topic because we had a specific kind of workshop here on Discord about it. So this hard work will turn into a recipe as well. So yeah, thank you very much, Anya. Like Anya said, if you spot any other gap in our documentation, let us know. We'll have that taken care of quickly. So what's next? Next we have Saleor Academy. So I'll bring Sławek on stage. And by the way, sorry, before you kind of warm yourself up, Sławek, just as a reminder, we will be hosting a Q&A at the end with Mirek, our CEO. So if you have any questions to Mirek about vision, Sailor as a product, Sailor as a company, favorite music band, feel free to ask right now in the chat, or just keep it until Mirek is here. Hi, Sławek.
Hey.
So tell us about Saleor Academy.
Yes, so I have a quick update. So we are not slowing down with Saleor Academy, and I am happy to announce the next workshop edition, which will take place on 11th of June. And like previously, we'll focus on learning how to build a modern commerce architecture through hands-on activities. And cover topics like designing scalable systems, automating key commerce workflows, extending your business without vendor lock-in, and many more. So yeah, registration is open. So I encourage you to sign up. I will also post an announcement with a workshop sign up link just after the community update. So
Sławek,
yeah, that's
just
basically it.
yeah, Patrys, go ahead.
I wanted to say for those who didn't follow our previous calls or community addresses, can you say a few words about what the Academy is and who is it meant for? Like, who am I as a person when if I'm about to sign up?
Yes, sure. So like landing page says, the workshop is for from developers, like from technical people like developers, or through product managers to agencies. So we want to educate on how to build scalable, robust commerce systems, and we want to do it through hands-on activities. It's not like a webinar where you just passively listen. We want to involve you in exercises. So yeah, that's basically a quick summary of the event. But feel free to ask questions for more.
As far as I saw it, so like people meet up and then we do some kind of walkthrough, some information, and then you are I don't know if this will be the same kind of format for the next editions, but people were split in some groups and doing some fun stuff together. So
yeah, exactly. So it's like a working in teams using also like a whiteboard collaboration tools to keep it interactive. And obviously, before every exercise, that is like a lesson on how to like we are trying to show you and educate you on a given aspect of building the e-commerce stack.
Awesome. Thank you, Sławek. If you have any questions about Saleor Academy, pop it in the chat, and we will be moving forward to the community highlights section. So this is where we talk about what you did, not us this time. So in the recent month, one of the things that kind of caught our attention is this crazy ambitious initiative from the Discord user Minson98. Sorry if I butchered your name. About kind of implementing like a Saleor dashboard equivalent in Svelte from ground up. So he shared a bunch of screenshots which look quite nice and actually remind me of the times when Saleor dashboard was also blue, which was quite nice. Yeah, and I think what's really kind of nice is that it shows that we are truly a headless platform, so you can build anything really, your own equivalent in any technology. So, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of hard work. So hats off to you. Another thing which I kind of mentioned were the Saleor as Marketplace workshop, which happened a week ago. So we had a nice bunch of people interested in using Saleor as a marketplace. We kind of played around in this Excali draw, which you can also check out. And the idea was to kind of push the boundary of what Saleor can do in this context and establish some patterns that work in different marketplace cases, which I would say we did successfully. So now the result will be a recipe, like I mentioned. So this is more about kind of bringing everything together, the knowledge that we have and that you have. But we've already have had many successful customers using Saleor as a marketplace. So yeah, we knew it could be done, but now we are just kind of sharing it. What else? Community leaders. So once again, kudos to Delemator, I don't know, DJ Kato, Pitcast22, and a new community leader, Reddington, for your activity, especially in the help channel. Really appreciate you taking your time and helping other people with Saleor, which we know can be can be quite a lot sometimes. So thank you for your involvement. And I have two quick things before we invite Mirek to the stage. So we wanted to share with you the Extending Saleor survey. So we want to know how you are extending Saleor. What do you use for building apps? Do you use our stuff? Have you implemented your own Rust SDK? Because there are there is DJ Kato here, so he's known for his Rust love. But maybe you use some other languages. Maybe you've developed your own tooling. Maybe you have some insights about our documentation and in general the extensibility model. So we cover all of that in this survey. I would say it's about 5 minutes. There is not a lot of required fields, so you can just skip whatever is unpleasant. We would really appreciate if you took it. So you can either scan the QR code or go to the link, and we'll share it afterwards as well. And lastly, we've just published 2 articles on our Saleor dev.to blog. So this is our blog for more nerdy stuff, more technical stuff. So we have article from Łukasz Ostrowski about error modeling, and from Krzysztof, who we just had here, about dynamic configuration for MCP servers using environment variables, because we just recently added like MCP support in our apps repository, so we are kind of up to date here. So we encourage you to check both of those out. And yeah, I think this is it in terms of the agenda. So yeah, Mirek, let's bring you in.
And to the rest of you, that is the point where you post your questions if you want them answered.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Mirek. We can't hear you, we can't see you. Yeah, Discord does that to you. So let's wait a while longer for Mirek, and you can start thinking about your
questions.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I kind of introduced Mirek as you know, the vision, the strategy, Saleor as a company, but Mirek is also a lifelong developer, so anything goes. Really. Hi, Mirek.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah. All good.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. So I didn't see too many questions on chat, but let me first thank you for that community notes. notes Adrian and the rest. It is going to be pretty hard to top it up, I think, from myself. But I would be super happy to break down a little bit on the vision today. Unless there are many other questions, which I don't see.
No,
And you
go,
already
go.
know my favorite bands, then yeah. Sorry, Adrian, did you?
No. I said go.
Yeah, let's do this. So you've seen quite a lot of new things that we are adding to the 3.x branch. This is 321. We have a lot of those numbers. It is still being kept free because we are working on the 4.0 version, and 3.21 is all about commerce as code. This is what we kind of coined recently. It is modeling, delegation, automation, observability. We do it because we believe that brands who need anything beyond Shopify today, they need more control. And headless, composable, it is all about control. So this new tissue or fabric of internet, which is API, is that ultimate control, and developers actually drive that control. And for bigger organizations or organizations with a little bit different or unusual domain model, those tools really shine. So this is 321. We introduced channels, we introduced many of those things that you know. Our API is pretty broad. Now, what is the next step? Like, is that it? Just making this headless, making this composable? That's surely quite a lot. But let me leave you maybe with one thought, something that is very close to our minds. I am an engineer as well, Patrick, hardcore engineer for years. Most of our company are developers. So a little bit the way I think about that, the way we think about it, is we don't really provide a solution. We would like to provide more of an operating system. So if you take just the available market as of today, we kind of look at Shopify as this polished, great experience, easy to adapt, but iPhone kind of, right? And the way we look at Saleor is more for builders, for developers, something that is more like Linux. So this is my idea of how Saleor should grow. That is only a little bit of where we think Saleor 4.0 could go, but more control, more open flows to shape your commerce, more tools to actually tame that entire operation, constraint, and obviously this is more of an infrastructure of modern commerce rather than a few set of APIs. Yes, Sailor will continue to be, as we want it to be, the best, most granular and most powerful API for commerce, but what we want to deliver is infrastructure that is open, that helps you programmatically extend your stack and actually maintain it at cost. So I don't want to share too much ahead of the time, but for us in the internal cycle, this is the moment to really start shaping up that vision fully and flashing it out to you. So expect a little bit more on that side over the next few months. We obviously are not going to drop 321, and we don't plan to discontinue that line, but we would like to also look boldly into the future, what Salo could become in the next 2-3 years. So that would be a little bit from myself. I don't want to really talk too much on that call. I would love to answer questions, but I think the call was amazing so far. So please, maybe you have some questions.
Yeah, I actually have some questions. I have a question for both of you. So, how important is it for you that Sailor is an open source project? So, like, how relevant it is today? Because, like, back in the days when you founded it, maybe you had like a different perspective on Sailor as OS project than now, when it's like a commercial company.
Yeah, this is a question that I am being asked quite a lot, mostly by the business people. But from the development perspective, we believe that if you build for developers, you should probably consider building in the open. there is a whole world of things that come with it, like transparency, like, as we believe, higher security. But for me, I think the biggest one is community and opportunity that that community create. So we talked quite a bit about apps today, like how do we enable writing better apps, like circuit breakers, like fairness of webhook delivery. All of that is so important for us because we believe in that model that is more distributed. We want to make it easier to use, but also within that model, as I believe, and this is my ask to the community, we can build the most amazing kind of set of apps driven by the community as well. So the core open, apps open, and then there is obviously a cloud that we provide that should make all of that easy and convenience to use. So for me, this is around community. We build for developers, and that was always a natural choice. But I would let Patrick speak, as he was an open source developer for a long time before Saleor, and he brought a lot of that culture into the company.
Yeah, so for me, open source was just a default mode of operation for a lot of years. And of course, we've been asked many times, like Mirek said, like, does this not jeopardize our business, for example? But the truth is, I believe the truth is that the companies who use Saleor, they are not interested in purchasing software. They are not interested in owning software. They're interested in having like a service provided. So they can, of course, provide this service for themselves using Saleor open source. Just as I can, cook for myself every day. But people still visit restaurants because there's convenience and there's additional value that we provide as a company on top of the source code that lives in GitHub. So there are services that are only available to our customers, like the add-in payment gateway, for example, which is like kind of a mode for us to don't fall prey to like a major player doing the same stuff without contributing to the source code, but benefiting from our work. But I think, like Mirek said, this is being open source is a huge enabler for people who want to experiment with Saleor, for people who want to utilize Saleor as a managed service, but they still want to have stuff like CI/CD, for example, where your own testing pipeline can quickly spin up a Saleor instance to make sure the next version of your storefront is going to work, for example. And I think it's a big enabler for collaboration, even for people who don't actually plan to hack on Saleor core. Just having the source code available make it so much less effort to understand how the platform works. Because if you want to debug something, the source code is available. It's not obfuscated. You can run it on your machine. You can step through the code.
LLMs know it.
Look under the hood. Yeah, LLMs, of course, can help you both extend Saleor or integrate with it. So I would say there are more benefits today than there were the day we started. But one of the reasons we started is because we believe that everyone is better if we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. Like Saleor itself is using open source code underneath. This code is using all the libraries underneath and so on. And the language we chose to implement the core in is open source itself. So there are ethical reasons and there are practical reasons, but I don't think it collides with our business model at all.
Okay, we have some questions about modeling. So Alexandros asked, does the new modeling feature eliminate the need to integrate a headless CMS? And similar from Pitkas, so where do we draw the line between what should be included and handled by a CMS?
Well, those are really good questions. Thank you for those. It is hard to answer this very briefly, but I would try. So CMS, in a nutshell, the way we see it, is a tool for merchandising teams. So let's imagine a landing page or the new campaign, and you would like to actually have it out and done by people who not necessarily maybe code. So you have your favorite CMS. The CMS comes with the templates, and you can fetch the products and just actually compose that very fast. So this is enablement for merchandising team. The way we look at modeling is it is more of an enablement for developers to actually be able to model things in a stateless way within Saleor. So you not necessarily always need a database for every single basic operation. So you can model your taxonomies, you can model your basically your data into our commerce platform, and especially when you have a flow that is beyond a standard flow. So as we probably all know, there are hundreds of different or thousands of different ways of doing things in e-commerce. So what we would like to provide as Saleor is the primitives, like those basic objects and entities that you need in every e-commerce, then flows around those entities, enablement to actually inject your own logic through an app to those entities. But then, you know, whenever there is something beyond that, you need to model that into the system, and we do it with metadata, with attributes, and additional tools like objects slash pages. We used to call them pages. So CMS that we introduced in the past, I think, had a misleading name. I think when Patrick was proposing that change, it was mainly to address a problem of the data that belong to the product to stay actually close to the product. And that's why so those pages were used to model, let's say, attributes around a particular product back then. And that was not meant to be a CMS really for landing pages, even though you could probably extend it to any use case that you want that involves data. So that would be my answer. The line is between between CMS and modeling. The main line is CMS is a tool that your team would use for kind of content work, which is closer to merchandising than what your developers would use to store data. This
I can add to
evolves,
this answer.
and that distinction is obviously fluid. But Patrick, I give you back the mic.
Yeah, I can add to this answer by saying that I think different people call different things a CMS. So, like, marketing people are used to having systems where you can you have like a rich tooling to work on things like custom layouts, for example. And we don't even try to cross into this territory. Saleor's CMS capabilities are strictly around representing semantic data. So you can have like structured data with fields that are named, they have their types and so on. Like Mirek said, this is more of a custom database than it is like a site builder for your A/B testing landing page, for example. That being said, for some of the uses of a CMS, Saleor could be used. To me, the line there is drawn on whether you want to, or whether you need to have a custom publishing flow, for example, where you have multiple drafts that are competing, where you want to quickly switch between versions, or where you need someone to approve something before it gets published. This is the part where even semantic CMSs are going to surpass our capabilities, and we don't think this is an area that we need to solve on our end. So if you need a extended publishing flow with multiple approvals, etc., I would say you're better off with a CMS even in the long term.
So we have a new question about the storefront. So before I give it to you, I'll just make a quick announcement that we actually kind of left out, which is that we reopened Saleor storefront to issues. So we want to think of ways we can collaborate with you. We want to get to know how you are using it, whether this is more like a learning tool for you, how to work with Saleor, or maybe this is like a starting point for your own storefront. You fork it, you modify it, all of that. We opened a storefront channel, so if you have any feedback in where would it be the most comfortable for you for us to take it, please share. And now folks? Who wants
Okay,
to tackle that?
that is also a very good question that we kind of hear and see quite a lot. Are we planning to build anything visual to create storefronts? And should that be part of core or not? So in our vision, this is not part of core. Definitely, we are not going to try to tackle that the next few months, if ever. The reason for that is that there is so much nuance in storefront, and there is also uh, complexity on the CMS side and what's not. So this is particularly hard to actually build, and I think this could be a headless startup kind of a project level, and there are startups doing that, by the way. So what we want to provide instead is a good set of building blocks, so you can do this yourselves. And this is where we also would love to see community actually driving those efforts. So I think this is a great place to play around currently. There's so many good tools right now in JavaScript and toolkits to build such a storefront, but we are not planning to do this ourselves. One thing I would mention is that some of the companies that use Saleor professionally as their services agencies, they build their own verticalized prepackaged storefronts. They come with opinionated CMS, search engine and so on. So, and those are also open source. So I would also recommend looking around those. However, I'm not aware of any that is just a visual editor. So yeah, no, we don't plan it. But I think it would be an amazing experiment to do for the set of features that you would like to include, obviously, right? Because if you wanna something generalized, this will very quickly grow into something hard to maintain, I think.
I would also say that in the spirit of commerce as code, what you really want is a tool that builds a file somewhere. You can use Git to version control, etc. Rather than something you can quickly hit save and accidentally wreck your entire storefront experience. So in terms of the deployment process, for example, so you can play with something in your staging deployment, make sure it's 100% what you want it to be, then commit the changes somewhere to a version control and deploy them to your production service. I wouldn't recommend playing with branding or theming or anything experience related on a production deployment directly. And given the headless nature or the composable nature of Saleor itself, I don't think it even fits in the core, because you will find that many of our users don't have a one-on-one relationship between the Saleor instance and the storefront. So there are companies who have multiple storefronts. There are companies who don't have a web storefront at all and only have a native application. You could have a storefront that is a Unity plugin that is part of a game or a VR experience. You could have a storefront that is essentially glue code between TikTok commerce and Saleor that doesn't really present its own user interface. Or you could have an AI agent that's placing orders, which is also technically a storefront, but you wouldn't customize them in the same way. So I don't think storefront customization is even in the domain of what core is responsible for.
We have a follow-up question on modeling from Pitcast22. So metadata, how we want to improve metadata for modeling purposes. We kind of touched on that, but in the roadmap, but yeah.
Thanks for that question, Pitkas. The part of documentation that we shipped recently was something called attributes versus metadata. I think it is relevant to that thread because you're right. Metadata that we recommend is going to be hard to kind of do manually by users in the dashboard, and this is a weakness of that solution. This is where we see attributes being more relevant for actually used within the dashboard by the staff members. So the ideal situation would be we have enough attributes, models, and system built into Saleor, so that would eliminate a good chunk of possible mistakes by human. Also, on the side of metadata by itself, we are filling the gaps where they are still not editable in the dashboard, or there were places like that. That's for sure. I'm not sure if we can actually make those data, I mean the UX for that data, any better than it is, because basically this is a free text and it cannot be by design kind of improved, I think, in the UX. But all creative ideas around those two topics, attributes and UX, are something that we proactively thinking to improve. So all the feedback welcome, and yes, we recommend attributes for human changes, but we also know they are not available at the wide scope everywhere yet.
Yeah. So in terms of the editing experience, we did some experiments with using a code editor, like an embedded code editor for metadata. And I think we will return to those experiments where we enable rich metadata, because then you will also get syntax coloring and error catching for missing bits of objects, for example, when you will finally be able to put stuff that is not strings into metadata. But it is by design a document store that is schemaless and meant for applications. And making it adding a schema for metadata would essentially make it harder for applications to use metadata, which is the main use case, acting as a data layer for applications, not humans.
So I'll add my own perspective on it, is that maybe, obviously this depends on the case, but maybe if you find yourself in a position where you or your staff users struggle with editing metadata, maybe this is a sign that this should not be metadata. Maybe this should be a model or formerly a page somehow linked to this entity. Obviously this relies on the case, but sometimes we use a solution as well. So we store this information in a model, which is definitely much more user-friendly, and then we link it to what it depends on. I think we.
Yeah, but
this is
I
this is
also
a great
previously, sir Mirek, I also said previously that we're working on extending the modeling capabilities. And one of the efforts that we're looking at is adding attributes to users and orders, which are the two places where they are currently missing, and where we have to recommend metadata as a workaround, which we know is not ideal, because then it forces people to enter this by hand, which is not perfect. A workaround for this would be to build an app that presents an interface, but it's also complex, because if you want to replace the user management screen with a custom one, there's a lot of functionality to implement. So we know it's not easy to achieve.
Yeah, I wanted to only encourage you to, like, all of you actually using metadata and attributes extensively, to share with us the use cases. So this is going to help us improve actually and look through your eyes what problems exactly are you dealing with, and that would be really helpful and valuable to just either have those sessions like we had about marketplace. Maybe we should, by the way, Adrian, think of like modeling a session around attributes, metadata, data, and discussion just strictly around this topic.
So I think we'll take one more, maybe two quick ones. So we have a translation question. So do we plan to improve the workflow for managing translations?
I would probably leave it to Patrick, as I know this is something close to his kind of heart.
Okay, I'm very passionate about hating our current translation flow. especially the part where you have to scroll through several hundred of locale codes to find the one you care about. And most stores only care about 5 to 7 of those. Like, I think the largest partner we're working with has like maybe 30 of those. No one uses all several hundred, so it is a bit of a pain to use right now, and it's not just going through the language, then product, then stuff. So we will eventually revisit this UI, and we will add some links between the content management, where you do like PIM work, order work, etc., and other parts of Saleor, which includes linking from product details, for example, to do its translations. But we will get there eventually. I don't want to make any promises because we're not a huge company. We cannot work at a lot of things at the same time. So yeah, no promises, but this is a pet peeve of mine. I personally hate the flow. It's just that there are other things that are way more impactful that we prioritize because we know it's unblocking others from adopting Saleor.
All right. So if you have a quick one on yourself, this is the last call to send it in. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping things up. But yeah, I really liked the questions, and I think like the ideas around modeling, especially, this is these are things we have a lot of kind of sparring sessions in the company about. So to have some more here on Discord, it's really amazing. So like Mirek said, I can only emphasize keep sending your use cases for metadata, for attributes, what types of data you model in Saleor. Will definitely take a look on that. Okay. So, extend the storefront. Yeah, so Robot Graves, in the spirit of opening storefront to issues, feel free to add an issue on that. We also had some voices around linking stuff in the storefront, so maybe we'll consider adding some sort of like a relationship or I don't know if we would, if this is if metadata would be the case, but maybe linking a product to a page or something like that, that should maybe find its way to the storefront. Okay, I'll take one last. So AI agent. Not really, but we have. So do we have any templates or resources related to AI automated systems? So we have awesome Saleor page. So we can have a section there on things like that, and add if there is anything kind of related to Saleor. So your workflows in N8N that use Saleor or things like that.
Adrian,
So
just by the way, did we release that N8N template open source? Maybe this would be the
no, but yeah, I agree. We should do that. So I'll do it. I'll do it soon. And yeah, if you have any more questions, send them in. We'll answer them asynchronously. And for now, thank you very much for joining. It was our pleasure to have you, and hopefully see you in the June